And now, coming to you live from the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California, it's the Sheena Metal Experience with your host, Sheena Metal, only on KGRA Digital Broadcasting.
Hi, and welcome to the Sheena Metal Experience on KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. I'm Sheena Metal. I'm a psychic medium. I'm an interfaith minister. I'm an energetic healer. I'm a 29-year talk radio host in Los Angeles and beyond. I'm a creative and a performing artist and a paranormal survivor. And I come to you live from my home in Southern California every Friday at 3 o'clock Pacific time. This show is about spirituality. It's about creativity. It's about humanity. It's about passion. It's about service. It's about becoming your best you and maintaining that, and then doing everything you can to inspire others to do the same in this big, beautiful world. And every week on the show, it may be my show, but it's always and without a doubt, forever and ever, your experience. And I always say now, and the experience of my guest, because so much of this show is a wonderful person that I know and love comes on the show and shares their experience, and you learn a little about mine, about theirs, and then hopefully you see the reflection in your own. My guest today is a wonderfully talented creative entity, actress, writer, producer, amazing character actress, wonderful humanitarian, a beautiful spiritual person, and you know her for many things, including her reoccurring role on American Horror Story, which she was so wonderful as Pepper. And I just love how she interacts with fans, how she has respect for all of her work and for her characters. And she's just a great person, and I love her, and it's great to have her here. Please welcome the wonderful Naomi Grossman back to the show.
Hi, that's lovely. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It's true. I mean, I think when I first met you, when I was started in 2009 doing my first show ever, where instead of like callers, I was interviewing people. So I was looking to find people to interview. And it was, around that time that American Horror Story started. So I just started researching people. And there you were. And you were, it was the very beginning of season 2. So you had just started on the franchise. And, you were interacting with people. And there were people in Argentina. And people were sending you art. And I thought, this is exactly how everybody who has amassed any kind of public persona should be reacting with the people that love them. And that's why I had you on the show for the first time. And now I just love you because I love you. But I love that you're that way with people. Like, you really care about how your art has moved people. And I think you should teach a class in that to every upcoming performer.
Oh, thank you. That's lovely. I think I went so long without having fans that I really, really appreciate them. Like, for the longest time, it was just my mom. And even then, I think she, had her moments. And so, but I always knew that I was supposed to be here, that I was destined to do this. And so, I saw the vision so clearly. And you know how they say, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, you will achieve. Like, absolutely. I was seeing it. I believed it. Nobody else did, not even mom. Yeah. But I believed it and achieved it. I believed it long enough. And I do think that having that kind of stick-to-itiveness, that kind of drive and discipline and maybe it's just stubbornness. I don't know what it is, but I managed to stay in it long enough to convince people to join the fan club.
I love that. Well, so a couple of things. First of all, I think that you break a stereotype that I think is huge, and that's that beautiful women don't do character. See, I think when you're an actor, you should want to immerse yourself in a character and be completely unrecognizable in a lot of characters, no matter what you look like in your real life. But when I was growing up, and I'm a little bit older than you, when I was growing up, it was all about like pretty girls look like themselves and things, and girls that weren't that pretty did character work. And I think that the world is changing with how we think about women, how we think women should look, the kind of faces that we're seeing now on film and in television. But I love the fact that you didn't care, that you completely immersed yourself in this character that looked nothing like you, but then we're totally great to go on a red carpet and look very glamorous and show people, hey, you know, there's me, and then there's the characters I create. And even though a little bit of me is in every character, it's not the same thing. And I think you really help people to realize that, to aspire to maybe think beyond playing characters that just look like them.
Well, I think I'm probably not as much younger than you, because I kind of grew up with that same mentality.
Right. Sure.
And to be honest, I've never thought of myself as a pretty girl. I'm not. This isn't therapy, by the way, Sheena. I'm not asking for you to, you know, prove me otherwise.
Right.
But I just never saw myself like that. I've always been very self-aware and known that if you want to cast a beauty queen in Hollywood, well, you can throw a rock any which direction, probably not mine, and hit one. Right. And I'm not trying to be one of them. Like, I'm not trying to compete with that. Like, this business is hard enough. Why don't I kind of, you know, figure out what it is that I do well that they don't do, and do that. And so, and besides, you know, I've always wanted to be, you know, the witch, the evil stepmom,
yes, right.
the, you know, like the Cruella, like that's way more interesting than the Disney princess. You know, I like the ingenue sort of leaves me cold. It's a short career. Yes. I'm trying to be Betty White up in here. So, you know, I'd like to think that I'm like a fine wine. Yes. You know, I mean, it took me, like I said, 22 years of auditioning, getting calls back on a veil pinned, then crickets, you know, competing for hits against cat videos before I ever had any kind of mainstream success. And so, yeah, I'm like, it's too late for me to be the hot, you know, leading lady ingenue. So I'm not trying to be that. I never was, even when I was that age. Yeah, like, even in high school, I kind of I've always sort of and I don't know that I've ever admitted this to anyone, but I've always sort of felt like the weirdo. Yeah. You know, I was like in my very kind of vanilla Mean Girls high school. I was an only child. I lived in this weird house, and by weird I mean awesome. But my dad was an architect, and we lived in this gorgeous, just mid-century mod sort of like box, while everyone else lived in these McMansions with, you know, steeples and turrets and crap. You know, we were in this like little oasis, you know, in Architectural Digest, but it was still weird. You know what I mean? We had a blue door to ward off the evil spirits. We spent, you know, long weekends at our Taos house in New Mexico, where my parents later relocated. You know, I don't know, like my all the kids, you know, in the neighborhood were latchkey kids. My mom, on the alternatively, was a pianist. She was home, you know, playing concertos all day long, and I was like, Mom, can you please just get a job? And when she asked me, well, what job would you have me do? I said, why don't you be a bus driver? Oh. Can you imagine? Like, why is this, like, that's what was in my head. Like,
right. Well, like, but I think that, and I grew up kind of the same way with these very artistic parents. My dad was a designer. My mom was also a fine artist. My mom was in the closet at that time, psychic. The house was filled with dragons and fairies and Irish lore. I'm also an only child. And yeah, and I think the same thing. I was thinking about this as I was saying it before you spoke so eloquently. I think that I felt like sort of like a fish out of water as a young person, and I kind of grew into it. Like, now I feel totally comfortable. I think I was a better 40 plus than I was a young person, because when I was little, my mom used to always say, when you were 5 you were like 40, and when I turned 40 I was like, oh, I'm home. Okay, this I can do.
Yeah, and well, now with Facebook, we know what our crush from kindergarten ate for breakfast. But I think if you were to go and ask any of my, kindergarten friends, what's tell us about Naomi Grossman, they'd be like, she's kind of quirky. She's a little she's a little off. She's a little weird. She's a little like funky, kind of, beats to her own drum. And so that's why it's interesting. I do sometimes feel like Pepper, I somehow tapped into like more myself than ever in a weird way, like which is strange because again, on paper, like we couldn't be more unalike. Like she's basically nonverbal. I am all verbal. She's, but at the same time, I think there is sort of a misunderstood, slightly just lost weirdo in there underneath all those prosthetics and shaved head that is very, very Naomi at the end of the day.
Well, and do you think though on a spiritual level, because here I go, that thing inside of you that what my mom used to call pathos, right, that you brought to Pepper has attracted all these other awkward people who feel the same way all over the world, and they've all connected with you.
Ooh,
I think that sometimes
it's true. I can tell my fans from a mile away. Like I go to Comic-Cons and I can see there's the people there for Jason Voorhees and the guys for Freddy Krueger, and then there's the people for me, and they are often female or gay boys.
Yep.
They're young and they're timid and they are lovely, and I love them so much. I mean, it's why it's why I have this room for goodness sake.
It's a shrine.
I mean, and I've created like this NFT collection, which the fact that I even have one, if you asked me a year ago what are NFTs, I couldn't tell you. I still would struggle to explain it, but
do explain it for people here so they understand what you're talking about.
Sure. Although I do feel like I have to go back and explain the whole bus driver business.
Oh, okay.
Here's the thing. I because I realized how that came out, and I don't want to seem like classist at all. That I think the idea was I loved my life, right? I loved being at home, and I loved school. What I didn't like was the bus. And the bus was this like just time where again I was bullied on the bus. Yeah. And I thought if only my mom would drive that bus, instead of stay home and play piano all day and prepare us 3 gourmet meals a day, then my life would be truly complete. And again, I'm so blessed that I did have a mom that exposed me to music and high art and culture, and that did feed me. I mean, artichokes for a snack, like what is that? You know what I mean? Like I'm so lucky. But anyway, that's where that came from. And it's like, of course I seem like a weirdo. I was a weirdo. I am a weirdo to this day.
Yeah.
No, but I'm so sorry. We were gonna explore something else.
But let me say really quick before we talk about the NFTs. You're right.
Yes.
We in this country were not culturalized to be weirdos or to be avant-garde. And I was thinking about this last night. I don't remember what I was thinking about, but I know I just drove up to my driveway. I was stepping out of my car, and I was thinking about how as a child I never was taken to a professional sports game. My parents watched PBS. Like there was no like sports bar. People didn't come over, and we didn't have Tostitos and watch the Super Bowl. I think I watched my first Super Bowl with my friends. I was like 40. I was like, what's even happening here? Oh, the commercials are fun, because my parents were all art and science and psychology. So everything was about, let's watch Jacques Cousteau and then go see, Gilbert and Sullivan operetta. And there's that whole kind of Maine American thing that I think I completely missed out on as a kid. And now I'm so thankful for it because I love it. And now I live in my parents' home, and I have, like a room of craft things I have to go through and sort through. But now I realize how cool it was to live with artists that were always creating things, always making things. There was always the wood shop was going, and my mom was always painting something, or something was happening. And, or like you said, when she played the piano, or she was cooking, or now I realize how thankful I am to have had that. But it was not that sort of Brady Bunch upbringing that people are like taught to be in this country. And I think maybe that's where theater people come from, Naomi. We're those little weird only children that are raised in an avant-garde home, and then we become creatives.
That's so true. And I snuck the Brady Bunch because, again, watching anything but PBS was extremely frowned upon. We watched exclusively Cosmos with Carl Sagan, and
Dad's.
Yep, and Cosmos with Carl Sagan, and Sunday Morning with Charles Corral. Those were that's what we watched. Okay. So while my mom was in the other room playing something really bombastic, I could quick get in some Cosby Show or Family Ties or Brady Bunch. But as soon as she came in, what you doing in here? Oh, nothing. That was me acting out. Like, while other kids were off drinking and smoking, I was sneaking sitcoms. So it's really like no wonder I grew into become this person who just wanted to be on sitcoms. No, but I agree. I think I feel so lucky to be this person now. But, at the time, I just wanted to be like everybody else. I wanted a latchkey. I wanted to eat Tostitos. I wanted to have sports games on TV because that's what all the other kids were doing. Now I realize, like, those kids only wish they'd been at the Grossmans. But, again, kids are just, they don't know. They don't know any better. They just want to fit in. And I never did, and I still don't. But I don't care. I'm good I'm good just like this.
Yeah. I think I stopped caring even as a teenager. And I went to that same white Mean Girls high school, which, now is 5 minutes from my house. And I think by then, once I had discovered theater, I just didn't care anymore. I was like, okay, well, y'all are on your own trip, but I can go hide in the theater room with the other gnomes. And now I feel at home. And I think that's why it's so important. Now it's different, right? Because now I think for kids, they're encouraged to find their thing. They're not encouraged to be like everyone else. And also, all the TV shows, if you watch any shows with like younger people, and, sometimes my inner 15-year-old does, it's always like the nerds and the popular kids are best friends. I mean, now it's all about inclusion, right? But you look back to when I went to high school, you're like, that girl would never hang out with that girl. So it's good that the younger generations have changed and learned. And there is some human evolution happening, which makes me very happy.
I agree. I don't know how many films I've gone to see where I'm like, not at Ponderosa High School, that wouldn't happen. But I realized, like, no, but you know what? This is encouraging. Like, those Mean Girls, they haven't lasted. They're, So
you had me at Ponderosa High School. That's fantastic.
Ridiculous.
Totally fantastic. So what is an NFT?
Oh my goodness. So I'm going to give my definition of what, because we can all Google non-fungible token, whatever. But I've created this thing, and it's actually inspired by fans' art. Because let's face it, my art has obviously inspired others' art. Now I have a new art, my new one-woman show, American Horror Story, which I'm hoping will inspire more art. Nice. So if you can imagine, I've created what I call this little collection called Play With Me. Okay. And when you play with me, you basically either win or purchase a component pack. Now that component pack is comprised of 15 different little pieces. And those pieces are all could be anything. It could be like Lucille Ball's hair, or my ex-boyfriend's arm, or Pepper's teeth, right? And of those 15 pieces, it's up to you to then like drag and drop onto your little virtual canvas and create your collage. Essentially, it's kind of like a Mr. Potato Head or a paper doll, right? But instead of getting the same ears, nose, mouth, you're getting different like puzzle pieces. Now, each of these pieces has meaning in the show, American Horror Story, my new show. You know, that arm, my ex-boyfriend's arm has a part, you know, Lucille Ball's hair shows up in there. You won't necessarily know what all those mean until obviously you see the show. And well, for now, it's still just a stage show. So you have to have, you know, come to the run in LA. You have to go to off Broadway in January. Like it's not, so you know, accessible to everyone just yet. Yet being the operative word. The hope, of course, is that it'll be streaming on some streamer, and it'll be on everybody's TV somewhere at some point. But anyway, that's kind of the elevator pitch. It's a very long elevator, but
that's awesome.
It's fun, and people are creating the coolest things, and I use their various creations as a promotion for my show. So you never know when I'm gonna, you know, repost your stuff or make it my profile picture, or better yet, turn it into some merch. We've just come up with this new American Horror Store. All proceeds, of course, go towards my show. And you know, if you wanna some boxer briefs featuring that, you know, collectible with that ex-boyfriend's arm, you can have it. It's on sale now. So yeah, it's fun. I mean, the idea was honestly, like, initially I was thinking about like how to make this show happen. And, you know, people talked about crowdfunding and whatnot. And I was just like, ugh, I don't really want to do that if I can help it. And so that's why I thought, what can I do that's not just me, you know, alms for the poor, that's actually like, you know, giving something back, you know, and again, it's a conversation, like, and like, not only are you getting to you know, create something inspired by my art, but we get to talk about it afterwards. I do what I call Pepper Approves every Wednesdays, where we just go on my lives and I invite some collectible owner, some creator of one of these, to come on with me and chit chat about their experience and what they've made. And so that's fun, because like I said, I mean, you know, from having done, you know, film and TV, like, it's very one-sided. Like, you know, you act for that camera and then you're wrapped and it's over. You know, and maybe you are live tweeting on the day the episode airs, and you get to like see fans interaction, and you know, like I said, hopefully you're in a show that maybe is going to Comic-Cons, etc. That's a chance to like interact with fans. But other than that, it's not like theater where you get to you get that immediate validation. You hear that applause, you get the laughter. This is, you know, it's very lonely doing film and TV. So this is a chance for me to really, you know, connect with fans in a regular way. And I really appreciate that, because like I said, I wouldn't be here without them. Like, I've been doing this for a really long time, way longer than anyone would ever imagine. But no one knew that because I didn't have fans, right?
Right.
Again, it was just my mom. So the fact that like they're like I'd still be acting, even if it's all it is like a couple people on YouTube stumbling upon my you know, whatever whatever didn't make it at the Groundlings that I threw up on YouTube. Fine, but you know, I'm really I'm thankful to have this audience, because you know, they always say if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, did it really fall? Like, I really believe, like, I would be acting with or without this audience, but it's
Absolutely.
like they give it meaning. This is a dialogue. So I'm not able to hear them. Well, because they can't get a word in edgewise. But you know, it goes both ways. I consider the audience to be as much a part of this uh you know, experience as without, right?
Have you found that now some of them have, a lot of your people now that found you because of American Horror Story have gone to your YouTube now and watched the stuff from pre that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, a lot of it is cringy. I watch some of it now and I'm like, oh God, how can I strike that? Why is that on my IMDb? Really? I mean, my IMDb is like a Claire's boutique. If you've ever been to one of those like awful stores in the mall, like there might be some real gems in there, but there's no way you're gonna find them because there's so much other crap.
Yeah.
So you know, I do wish I had a more of a Tiffany's, you know, with just that one,
Sure.
like a clean, just that one beautiful stone in the window.
Right. Just the one video and that's it.
Nope, I got a lot of crap. But you know, at the same time, I think it's part of my story and I'm very transparent about that. I think it's good to see, wow, like I'm still scrolling. This chick she really was at it all, you know, 22 years.
No, I think you should keep it all. I think about it too. Sometimes I look at my YouTube and I think, oh, these are like just old, like a one camera picking up my radio show, which you run many times. Or this is, you know, this is me talking about my paranormal experience at the Queen Mary. But I think the same thing. I think it's who I am. And I don't know about you, but when I go to somebody's Facebook page or their YouTube and they've destroyed everything up to the last couple, I get nervous. I'm like, who are you? Where are the pictures of you from 10 years ago? Like, where's your journey? You seem like an inauthentic
Are you a
person
bot?
to me.
Are you a Russian stripper who's
yes.
Actually a robot?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. Because that happens, right? Somebody sent me something today of one of those lovely imposters on Facebook. You got to love them. And it was a picture of me holding my cat. And I'm like, oh, no, they've trolled the cat too. But if I see somebody's page and they're the kind of people that erase, like some people after every relationship, right? They erase everything about that relationship. I'm like, I don't know. Are you okay? Because I'd like to see where you've been. So I think it's great that your YouTube has that. And I think it also shows people, you know, what you were before that role, which people need to know. And then someday people are going to look back and go, oh God, remember back then when it was Pepper? Because by then you will have done something else that will be the even bigger thing. And then it will be looking back at that and taking pride in it. And I think it's so important that you take pride in it all. I grew up in a time where before fan conferences were big, right? So when I first got into radio 30 years ago and just bumping around Los Angeles, became friends with a lot of folks that were child actors. One of them used to play in my band. It was always very much about the number one rule of child actor is we don't talk about child actor. We don't talk about what we did. I don't want people to talk about that one role that I did. I'm sick of talking about it. And that was the thing. It was this elephant in the room you never spoke of. Then fan cons came. And I think the good thing about them is everybody got to make peace with their past and realize how cool it was, because what they thought was, oh God, I don't want to talk about that thing from when I was 6, was something that some other person's life was changed forever because of that thing. So I think we live in a different world now where actors are celebrating roles that they get and thinking about, wow, this is something that I can go and do, you know, cons for the rest of my life with. Back then it was, oh, how people still know me from that role. What about what else I've done? I don't think it's about that on an energetic level. I think it's, as an actor, you throw it out there and then people resonate with what they resonate with. And you're just thankful if anybody resonates with any of it.
Yeah, you know, it was actually just yesterday that I confronted a troll on my Pepper Approves.
Wow.
She was on my live on my socials and she was like, God, get over it already. We get it. You got a role 10 years ago. calm down. And
Jealous.
normally I just wouldn't even interact with someone like that. But I thought, you know what? Let's just nip this in the bud.
Good.
And I said, you know what? Listen, I'm here because of it. Like, honestly, I'm not holding on to this role, although it may seem like it, as I'm, surrounded by hundreds of pictures of it. But let's face it, like, if it weren't for that role, we wouldn't be talking. You wouldn't know who I am.
Yeah.
So I celebrate Pepper every day. I am so thankful for that door open in Hollywood. Let's face it, it was sealed shut for a very long time. Is it defining who I am? Of course not. I got plenty more. Yeah. And if you want to Google, you'll see where I came from. You'll see this isn't, I'm not a one-trick pony. I got plenty more to do. And I think plenty more ahead. But yeah, it's hard because a role like that really is very special and doesn't come around all the time. Listen, I've got a new show that I just, not just the horror story, which I mentioned, but I'm on a new Netflix show that I haven't been able to talk about, obviously, because of the strike. In fact, I'm so out of practice promoting that I forget that I'm even able to do it. But for the first time, I will tell you right here, right now,
nice.
November 30th, I've got a ridiculous role in a hilarious show that it's brand new. It's called Obliterated. It's produced by the same folks as Cobra Kai. So it's going to be one of their big, but when I say they, I mean Netflix, one of their big action comedies,
nice.
blow shit up in Vegas type shows, right? And I have a small but super memorable role because apparently that's what I do. People just they sprinkle a little pepper, not that I'm pepper in this, obviously, but a little Naomi goes a very long way. They're using me sparingly, but you can't miss me. So I'm excited. Like I said, like, I'm not just Pepper. I'm Janet in 2 weeks.
Right. That's awesome.
At the same time, like I hope to have another Pepper in my life, or you know what I mean? Another role that's going to, like, I'll have to build a whole nother, study.
But when you do, there will still be the celebration of Pepper. Because there will still be people that many years later. So one of my pals was the lead in the first Friday the 13th film. You mentioned Jason Voorhees earlier, Adrienne King. And I remember her doing my show when I first started my last show at the last network that you were on a bunch of times that went down during COVID. When I was there, it was the first year I was there, and I was thinking, well, who are people I can get on the show? What friends can I hit up? So she did my show one day, and she was just about to go to her very first fan con. And she had been out of the business for years, working first as a producer and a voiceover person, and then just simply retired and moved to someplace that looks remarkably like Camp Crystal Lake. So she was like, is anybody going to care? Is anybody even going to be there? And then she did my show right afterwards. And she was like, I got there and there was a line around the building. And I said, of course, I told you, nobody has met you. You have never been at one of these things. You are going to have a line around the building. She's like, no one's even going to remember who I am. Well, now she has her own line of Crystal Lake wines, and she's selling her art because she's a brilliant fine artist. I think she put together a book of the behind the scenes photographs she took while they were making that. I mean, and it's been this whole nother thing. Now, no matter what she goes on and does the rest of her life, there will always be people who love her as that character, in the same way that you could be at a conference promoting something you were at in the Marvel world, and somebody would still come up with the Pepper drawing. You could be 78 years old and someone is going to show up with that Pepper drawing.
Yep.
Because people, when they love something, it lives forever. And that's one of the most beautiful things about art, is that it never goes away, that you have those things that resonate with you, and the films just keep playing and the TV shows just keep playing and the art lives on and the books live on and the songs live on. I think that's wonderful. And I think the fact that you are not going to be the kind of person that's like, I don't want to talk about that thing. What about my new thing? It's all the same. Love is love. When somebody resonates energetically with your art, who cares if it's you're in a toddler pageant when you were 2? If that's what somebody loved, you know what I mean?
I totally agree. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like, yes, emphatically yes. After everything you're saying, I see people at Comic-Cons, you know, I don't want to say names or anything, but Ron Blair, you know, who are so don't want to talk about that movie that everyone loves,
Right.
and you know, but want to talk about their, you know, animal rescue. And I'm like, listen, nothing wrong with that. The animals need rescuing, but like, this is your in. Like,
exactly. Not a lot of animal rescuers are invited to Comic-Con. This is why you were invited.
Don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Right. So
you
get
know,
them
like,
excited and
you know,
bring on the animals.
Be thankful that you have them as your, you know, captive audience. Sign the damn picture with the pea soup coming out your mouth. And, you know, while you're at it, give them a, you know, a dog tag or whatever it is. Like, you know, you can have your agenda, sure. But like, it's always so weird to me when I think just because I was without fans for so long, I get people saying, you know, wow, you're so nice. Like, you know, Adam West wouldn't even look me in the eye, or I'll see pictures of people like literally will do like the photo ops, you know, and again, it's not to trash talk these people, but they're not watching, right?
Well, yeah.
Well, it'd be okay if they were actually. No, what's his name? Steven Seagal. Yes.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, whatever. No, but he'll literally be like over here, and the other guys over here, you know, the fans over here, and it's like they're not even allowed to be in the same sphere. Whereas I'm like, hugging on them, practically making out.
But doesn't that make you feel good? Don't you get that energy? You know, I had a psychic friend that used to say to me, when you give a healing, you get a healing. And when someone comes and tells you they love your art, you're getting a heal. You're giving a healing to them, and now you're getting a healing back from them. It's beautiful.
It is. And, you know, it's interesting because I always felt getting into this, that this was one of the most narcissistic professions possible. You know, me. I just want my face on the sides of buses and, you know, on the covers of magazines, or in, you know, I was going to say on benches, but those are more realtors, aren't they? But anyway, the point is, I've always thought that like this was really for true narcissists, you know, people with like actual like borderline personality disorders. Now I realize, no, it's just like you said, that it really is like it's philanthropy in a way, you know, like, because, and I didn't realize that until I had fans, until I was at these Comic-Cons, and, you know, people were delivering me their masterpieces, and telling me their stories about how, you know, God, I mean, I've heard some just horror stories of, you know, people who were, you know, misunderstood, or, you know, on the verge of suicide, you name it. And then they watched American Horror Story, and, you know, that character Pepper. And it's like, I'm like saving lives up in here. Like, who would have known? Like, it's amazing. And again, that was like so far off my radar. I just thought this was about playing characters, but I realize now, no, we are creating something that has value for people. And it's not just entertainment. In a lot of ways, it's therapy, it's religion, it's, I mean, it checks a lot of boxes. So
in some ways it's a healing spa. I mean, it's where people go to detox from their lives. And to get healing. You know, people say, well, you're not curing cancer. Well, how do we know we're not? Because there's so many studies now about how happy people are healthy people. So
Yeah.
how do we know that we're not helping people to not have other problems? By bringing them entertainment and by going to that place. So I have some good friends, as I said, lots of child actor friends that go and do the cons. And I went to one once to help out a friend of mine. And yeah, there are those people that are like, they have their sign, right, real big. Like, if you want to talk to me, it's $50 or whatever. And then they're literally just signing their name and they're not even looking at you. And they're so disgruntled. And being an empath, I felt so bad for those sweet little fans that had waited to go and meet them when they came to their town, and then they got that. And I thought, man, you know what? You're not only not doing them a service, you're not doing you a service, because it is the most wonderful opportunity. And even so many of my disgruntled child actor friends that said they would never do it are now doing it and absolutely loving it because of all the love they get when they go. And it heals you. And for some of those kids who had really jacked up childhoods back when we didn't talk about jacked up childhoods, wow, what a wonderful healing thing it is for them to go and realize that it was for something.
Yeah. And, it's not only bad for the actor that's acting the fool like that, but their career as a whole. It's bad for the studios that are casting them. It's bad for the entire brand. Like, I think about, there's one particular actor who I will not mention. But I remember meeting him and I was like, super fangirling. And he actually like gave me the hand, like talked to the hand. And I remember thinking,
yeah.
Oh, wow. And it just broke me because
Right.
I was like, but I love you. Like, you're my favorite. And now
Right.
I
Yes.
swear I can't watch his movies now because I do, and he's still fabulous, but like I like him a little less. Like,
Yes.
and now and so now, the next time Marvel casts him in I may or may not buy a ticket. And that, like I said, it's like dominoes. It's like, the butterfly in Brazil flaps her wings and there's a, tsunami in Japan. Like, all of a sudden, this one actor gave me the hand. And now, guess what? Paramount is making $18 less a movie.
Right. Well, but that's the thing, and that's a whole nother topic, but I'm going to bring it up briefly. When we were young and there wasn't the internet, there weren't fan pages and Twitter. You could go on a set, be a real a-hole to everybody and still get cast. But now, I do think sometimes we go too far with how we cancel people, but you can't be like that anymore. If you want to keep working, you can't treat everybody like crap, because guess what? Somebody working the craft service there is going to tell everybody, you know who treated me like crap? This person. And then all those fans that love that person from whatever project are going to go, wait, that guy's a jerk. And then they're not going to feel the same about them. And then there's those movie ticket prices dwindling, and also that project losing numbers and social media. And so now, even if you aren't naturally a nice person, you better learn to become a nice person, or you're not going to be working. And I think even though it was sort of like a forced hand, it's overall made our business kinder.
I think you're absolutely right.
Have to be kinder,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, let's face it. Those mean girls, they can't be mean anymore because they will be canceled in their high school at Ponderosa or wherever, Huntington Beach High School. But they can't, they won't last.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that happened when they got out of high school, right? The mean girls, in any school, even when we went to Ponderosa and Huntington Beach High School, when they became adults, nobody cared about their pom-pom anymore. And then they had to learn to either get nice or get lost. So but I think we're seeing that with the business now, because when you go, and you've been to a lot more of these fan cons than I have, but when you go, you see the bitchy people, and I just said bitchy, their tables start to dwindle. And sometimes there's some actors that you don't even really know them from that much stuff. They're mostly do like a lot of character stuff and a lot of sci-fi stuff. But man, they have a reputation for being so nice, and their lines are out the door because
Yes.
everybody wants to be around somebody who's nice. And then guess what? We have this wonderful thing called IMDb. And then you're going to go follow that person and watch every single thing they've done because they put their arm around you and were kind to you at a conference. And
Yeah.
I love that because being an energy person, I know you are too. That's how you raise the vibration, right? And
yeah, there's
nice
another
person,
actress who I will call out because she's exactly what you're describing. Felissa Rose. I don't know if you know her.
yes,
She was the star of Sleepaway Camp, which is
yes,
of course like the most iconic 80s
yes, yes,
slasher ever. And so,
yes,
obviously at a lot of these horror cons, she is the, queen bee.
yes.
But when you really, if you were to Google stalk her, like her IMDb is not that impressive, right? I mean,
Right,
she
right.
hasn't done a lot considering, and yet she is so good to her fans. She
Yes.
loves them so hard. I mean, she's at a con every single weekend of the year. She's got her arms wrapped around somebody. Like, I mean, like I follow her and it's just like, oh my God, where's Felissa now? Like she posts every single one.
Yep.
I mean, it's remarkable and it's so easy. Like how easy is that to snap a picture and post it? And yeah, it's evidently impossible for a whole lot of celebrities.
Yes,
and
yes, so true.
and it served her, being
Yep.
kind has she's made a career of it.
I remember when I went to this one with my friend, I think it was that one, there was a lady there who was in one episode of the original Star Trek, but her character made out with William Shatner, and she had created a Star Trek doll of herself. And she also had the 8x10s of her making out with William Shatner that she would sign for you. And she was so nice. And people were she would sit and talk to people at the table for long periods of time. And people were loving her. And then there's somebody across the way who was the lead in something, but they're all, and nobody's paying any attention to them. And it's like, well, you know what? You got to work what you have. And I know we think like, well, I'm an actor and I shouldn't have to. Well, guess what? In the old days, which I love the old days, you had to put up the tent and you had to, feed the animals and you had to do everyone's makeup and you had to sell the tickets and you had to get the people in even during the Dust Bowl. Every single night you had to fill that place. And then you had to pack everything up, go to the next town and do it all over again. And that's how it just was. And that's what actors did. You had to work to put that show on because the play was the thing, right? And I love that. And I think we got to get back to that. You got to work it, man.
Well, and you get what you give. Like you,
right. Yes.
So yeah, when you sit there and at the Comic-Con, like no wonder you got nobody in line. Who wants that sour face?
Yes, exactly.
I don't want to take a selfie with your garbage pail face. Like I want this lady who seems so lovely and is hanging on me, hugging on me, taking my picture. Like that's that's what we're here for.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's great. And I love the way that you do that and that you're always creating new things to get people excited. I wanted to ask you this earlier when you were talking about the NFTs and American Horror Store. Are you going to at some point do like a pay-per-view type version of your show so that your fans that are all over the world, like Argentina, that will never be able to get to LA or New York probably, would be able to watch it on demand? Because you have such a huge following outside of the country and it's so hard to go to each one of those places.
I know. I do have a place on that website, AmericanHorrorStory.com, where people can actually put in their town. Would you like to see American Horror Story in your home, or not at your home, but can you imagine? I do house calls.
I'll come to your house.
I would too.
I'll walk the dog.
Hey, listen, I just need to outnumber the audience. So as long as it's not like a studio apartment, I'll be there. No, I'm kidding. No, I hadn't thought of that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do feel, especially in the pandemic, we started to see people changing not only how they watch TV, but what they watch. So, seeing a one person show on Hulu or Netflix isn't that weird anymore. One
No.
time it was kind of like, what is this, theater on tape?
No,
But
no,
now
you're right. Yeah.
everybody's got an hour comedy special. Why not me? So
Sure.
I'm still
Absolutely.
holding hope for my hour comedy special. It's 80 minutes, but whatever. We can shave off some in post if necessary. But I that's what I'm really kind of hoping for, and
Sure.
that's why I'm actually keeping my other two solo shows, which you know about as well, kind of close to the
Yes.
vest, because I'd like to kind of package them all three together and have this the trilogy come out all at once. Then people will really be like, oh, she has been doing something other than Pepper.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
She's not just a one-trick pony. But I mean, that's a good idea. I'll think about it. I will say a lot of what I do is very verbal, which I mentioned before. And
Right.
so even though I am trilingual, I don't see this going to Argentina, unfortunately.
Right.
As much as I love Argentina, and it was my home for a while even.
Right.
I'm really a linguist, and
Yes.
and the particular language is English. And so for me to, translate it, that's a whole nother job that I don't want. It's a job I've had, but I thankfully have been able to retire from that. So
And that's why subtitles were created.
yes.
You were wonderful, my friend. Will you come back and do this with me again? I would love that. And where can people find you everywhere?
Of course. I am at Naomi W. Grossman across all platforms. Verified, except on Twitter. I'm not going to pay for that. And of course, you can check out my website, NaomiGrossman.net, but also AmericanHorrorStory.com. That's all the info on the new show. And of course, the Play With Me collection.
Love it. I love that, my friend. Thank you for being here so much. Thank you to KJRA Digital Broadcasting Network and my beautiful guest and friend, Naomi Grossman, who it's always a joy to have here. I'm Sheena Metal. You can find me at SheenaMetalSpiritual.com. Learn more about my spiritual life, my entertainment life, all the media that I do, and my spiritual practice. And then text me, 818-437-0886, and say hi, and let's get to know each other. And if you're out of the country, WhatsApp 1-818-437-0886. But unlike Naomi, I am unilingual, so we have to use Google Translate to talk to me if you're out of the country and do not speak English. And then also find me on my spirit nephew calls the socials, just at Sheena Metal, and that's Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and X, formerly Twitter, which I'm also not paying to get verified there, because I agree with that. And that's it. And until I see you next time, seek peace, live in love, lead with kindness, embrace unity, always work to raise your vibration, and know that you are love and you are loved. You're so loved by me. I'm Sheena Metal. I'll see you next time. Take care of you. Next Friday at 3:00 Pacific, we'll be here.